Are we ready to get started? Okay, good. Good morning. It's election day for the joint runoff, and I am pleased to inform you that all 450 vote centers are open and almost 14,000 citizens have voted so far. Every single vote center has had at least one vote. Vote centers are open until 7 p.m. in Harris County. For all locations near you and estimated wait times, we encourage you to visit harrisvotes.com. 99% of vote centers were opened by 7 a.m. The way we track this is through our e-poll book dashboard. Vote centers may begin shutting down procedures at 7 p.m. tonight if there are no voters in line after the last voter has voted and has been processed. So again, 450 election day vote centers. It is so important for voters to know you can go absolutely anywhere in Harris County because we have a countywide polling place program. I know it's Saturday, December the 9th, and people are thinking about Christmas and holidays and parties, but we want to encourage you to go out and make your voices heard for the fourth largest city about your local government elected officials who will be making decisions for you in the next 4 years. So, a little bit about election night tonight. Once election judges shut down the vote center, they have been instructed to gather all of their required election equipment and go to one of our 4 rally sites to report their equipment and drop off locations. You are standing right here in NRG, which is one of our drop off locations. All rally sites has Harris County election workers and staff, which you see working right here now, and it will grow throughout the night. The equipment that the presiding judges are required to return is on their list of items to be prepared for the evening. So again, a little bit after 7 o'clock p.m. tonight, those early voting and mail-in ballot results will be posted at harrisvotes.com. So I know many voters and the public will be looking to see what are the races looking like? What is the returns and the results looking like? You can see that at Harris Votes, available after 7 o'clock p.m. In low voter turnout elections, which is similar to a runoff election, especially in the holiday season, it is important to pay attention to those early voting results because in low voter turnout elections, more than half of the people may have voted before election day. And of course, we'll know by the end of the day just how many people chose to show up today. Unofficial results will be posted on Harris Votes at different intervals until all precincts or actually vote centers are reported. This is in place, and it is incumbent upon all of our stakeholders who help to make sure elections are successful. That's included election officials, election workers, our support staff, voters, to make sure that tonight goes very well. So again, today's election day. We look forward to processing every single voter in line before 7 o'clock p.m. Are there any questions? Yeah, so we have a system in place called ServiceNow. ServiceNow allows us to talk in real time with every voting location. Here's the truth of the matter. On a Saturday versus a Tuesday election, it's a little bit different. Sometimes we have facilities that are not used to be opening, and so they're pushing it to the limit right before the 7 o'clock. So we had a little bit of that this morning. A couple of election judges that may have slept over, but at the end of the day, we had everybody in place ready to go, and we've worked through those. So overall, we had about 54 calls in terms of the ServiceNow program. We're just voters calling to say, where do I go vote? How do I find the closest system? Can I only vote at this location or that one? About 296 of those calls are all in relation to that morning hustle, right? That morning hustle of getting to the poll, getting inside the facility, getting set up and ready to go. Some of those election judges are able to set up the night before pending the facility and just kind of working out the logistics throughout the day. It could absolutely be almost anything, right? A sign that they don't have, something that needs to be available and ready to go. And so that's where we're at. I feel really good that that's the only amount of calls, but this is typical on a Saturday runoff election. And as we go out throughout the day, we'll give more updates in tonight's news frame. So thank you for the question. I don't know if I repeated it. The question was all about were there any major concerns today? And so nothing major, all items that are workable and typical in any election, no matter what type of election it is. Any other questions?
Are there any situations that y'all prepare for or anticipate? As you said before, no election is perfect, but y'all have put in a lot of preparation and
Yes.
planning. So what are some of the scenarios that y'all are like, we're ready for it if it comes?
Oh, wow. Well, that's a good question. The question is all around, we're ready for it if it comes. There are things that happen the night before when some election workers are setting up and getting ready, right? We got a call last night that says, hey, I'm trying to get into the facility, but and I'll just give an example. It's kind of a funny example. There's a couple of animals out here that won't let us pass the gate to get in. That's a funny situation, right? But for the most part, it had to do all with facilities. In terms of what else do we do to prepare, it's almost kind of like, if you will, emergency management team. Elections is an emergency management type of operation. Like we prepare for storms, that's one of the biggest ones, making sure that there are generators available at the facilities when we book these facilities, but also backup and ready for our rally sites. So those are some of the ones that we provide for. Always weather events. Always weather events, and in different parts of the town where there are emergencies that can impact our polling locations, like power outages. Those are the biggest concerns or situations that we get that we have to handle in real time, but lean heavily in on, if it's a power outage, then Centerpoint and other facilities to help us through that before we continue to get things moving. All machines are battery backed up, and they are able to hold, electricity for a certain amount of time, but depending on the event, right, the weather event or the situation that's going on, I think that's what we used in the word, is we address it as we go. I will say there is something that we learn every election that we couldn't imagine would have happened the election before, right? There are examples of just small things, sometimes big things that we learn, but every election there's something to be learned as we prepare to the next one. Another question, please.
I've spoken to several community leaders from both sides of the aisle. All seem very impressed with how you and your team have run this election cycle. How would you evaluate yourself and your performance, and how would you compare this election to previous past?
Thank you for that question. Their question is in regards to both sides of the aisle giving us feedback in terms of how the work has been done and the selection, how professional it's been done. How would I evaluate myself? Well, I think you started with one key point. The comments are about the team and the work we've done. I am one person, I am the elected official, and I am the leader of this operation. But it takes a lot of people to get the job done. Where I grew up, we said we call it a village to get the job done. And so you're looking at some of the village, but this village is much bigger out in the community. And without the election workers who volunteer to do this work, we won't have an election. So when you go to vote at a polling location, make sure you thank those individuals who got up so early this morning to make sure your voice could be heard. How would I score myself? I would say that I have led well. Since September 1st. And what that means is I have been here every step of the way with every team member, evaluating every process, being a part of it, and working in every single part of the process. I am not a leader that gives direction without getting in the pool with my folks and getting the work done. And so I say that's leadership. There's bosses and then there's leaders. I'm not just a boss, I'm a leader, and there's no part of this process that I'm not willing to work on and do. I was taking election calls from election workers last night, just like everybody else. How can we help you set up? What questions do we have? How can we reaffirm that you're ready to go election day? So I'll say, well, there's always room for improvement, right? There is no perfect scenario here, and we'll continue to improve, but we will most importantly continue to build confidence in our process here in Harris County and build the confidence of voters as we move forward. Thank you for that question.
I know that you said we'll start to see the preliminary results from early voting and mail-in ballots after 7. What's the timeline look from that point on? When can we expect that we'll see the finalized results? How long are y'all going to be here tonight?
Yeah.
What does the timeline look like moving forward?
That's a good question and always comes up every election. Their question is in regards to, we know the timeline in which we see early voting and mail ballot results. They come in shortly after 7 o'clock. When will we receive the full results? We never have an exact time of when we will see the full results. It depends on the election, how many more workers and facilities we have to report. In this election, we have 450 vote centers. My goal, this is a goal, is to be by midnight, right? But we do have to depend on each election worker to bring down their voting systems, bring that equipment to a rally site, go through the checkpoints for each voting center. 450 is a lot. November was 701. After they have done that, then we're able to receive the information to officially tally. And so there's a lot of legwork that goes into this. I always say we just don't wave a magic wand. Vote centers don't close down and then send the results straight from the voting site. That is not what happens, right? What happens by law is there's a process that has to work with security measures and checkpoints in place. So the goal is midnight. Don't hold me to midnight, because as we're moving forward, we're giving you updates. We're providing what voters need to know. But that's the goal, and I hope we meet that goal tonight. Thank you.
Talked to some people that also thought they felt like 450 locations for a runoff was a bit excessive. Are you required to have the same number in the runoff as you had in the general, or is that entirely up to you? And why is 450 not excessive?
Yeah. So the question is around the amount of vote centers, and that some individuals believe that it's a little excessive. We had 701 vote centers for this November election, 450 in this election. So we are required by law to have a certain percentage of vote centers based on the amount of registered voters in the county. We're the third largest county in the nation and the largest county in the state of Texas. While I agree now that we vote on a polling place-wide program, that there are some ways that we can minimize polling locations as we have done. And what you will see since 2019, if you look at the amount of polling locations for every type of election, there has been some reducing of those polling locations. And so to your question, we have been reducing over a certain period of time. We own county-wide, but we're a big county and we're growing, very close to probably over 5 million folks here and 2.55 million registered. And so I think that's a wonderful question in terms of vote centers. And as we continue to look at our data and statistics, we'll start making the wisest decisions for the cost of the voters and the amount of people we have to get to work. So great question. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, very good. Again, today's election day. You have until 7 o'clock p.m. to vote. It was almost 14,000. I'm sure we're over 14,000 now. We've received a vote at every vote center. So, some may say that's too many, but it looks like it's working if someone's going to each one of those vote centers. And we look forward to bringing you back real-time information following our 7 p.m. Results check-in with early voting and mail-in ballots. Thank you. Thank you.